What is tragedy? In this video, we'll be continuing to explore Aeschylus' trilogy, the Oresteia, and here we come to the second instalment, which is called the Libation Bearers, sometimes known by its Greek title Koephoroi, though Oliver Taplin's translation has a rather elegant title, The Women at the Graveside. A libation was an offering made at the shrine of a god or at the grave or tomb of the deceased, and the libation was usually of wine or water or a mixture of the two, poured out as an offering. In the case of the previous play in the trilogy, the Agamemnon, we recognized the importance of the house. It's the house to which Agamemnon returns from Troy, expecting it to be a place of safety, but it turns out to be a place of danger. It is a tragic, fatal homecoming. And in her speech towards the end of the play, Cassandra sees into the house, sees the way in which it seems to enfold the past, the present, and the future of Agamemnon's family. And visually, the play gives us an extraordinary image of the embroideries or tapestries spread out as a path leading to the house, and their dark red colour makes it look like a river of blood. The image of the house is also important at the beginning of the Libation Bearers, because it seems that in front of the house now we have the tomb of Agamemnon. Agamemnon therefore is in a sense continuously present in this action. He is addressed by Orestes and by his sister Electra, and his help is sought in bringing about vengeance, retribution for his own death. And we noted earlier how important it was in Greek thinking that a host should extend hospitality to a guest. And there is a terrible irony here in that the hospitality offered unwittingly by Clytemnestra to Orestes is an important stage in the bringing about of her own death as she welcomes him into the house. The visual presence of the house and the tomb of Agamemnon at the opening of the play remind us that so often in tragedy the past is never altogether over and done with. The past is always liable to haunt and inhabit the present. When Agamemnon trod on those tapestries on his way into the house, that gesture had an element of ritual about it. And the Libation Bearers opens with more forms of ritual. In the fragmentary lines that are all that survive from the opening of the play, we find Orestes invoking the aid of Zeus and of Hermes, Hermes being the messenger of the gods. And as Orestes and Electra approach the tomb of their father, they are asking what words may be appropriate. How do characters use words to make a connection with the dead? What ritual or improvised formula would be appropriate to make that connection? Electra asks how she may speak to her father, and she hopes that Hermes will carry her cry. She promises that even after marriage she will continue to make offerings to Agamemnon. Ritual and the correct way of performing ritual is extraordinarily important in this play, and continues to be important in its sequel, the Eumenides. One of the effects of the ritual invocation of Agamemnon is to enlist his help, his agency, in the revenge. And this is one of the points at which Aeschylus addresses that question which recurs so often in tragedy: who is it who acts? The problem of agency. This arises strikingly in Clytemnestra's account of her own dream. She has dreamt that she has given birth to a snake and the snake is attacking her. She has, in that sense, given birth to her own destruction. And it's another example of the way in which past, present and future interact in complex ways in Aeschylus's imagination. The house itself is also regarded as an agent in the drama by the chorus, and at one point one of the house slaves cries out that the dead are killing the living, returning us to that idea that Agamemnon is avenging his own death, but also pointing to the fact that Orestes is dead according to the false message that has been received in the house. Orestes the dead is killing the living. More abstractly, the chorus exclaims that it is justice which is striking Clytemnestra. And throughout the action, Orestes insists that what he does has been commanded by Apollo. So here, just in these few examples, we already have different ways of imagining the agency which is at work here. It's something to which Clytemnestra has herself given birth. It's something which is carried out by the house, by the dead, by justice, and at the insistence of Apollo. This question of agency, of who it is who acts, becomes particularly important in the exchange between Clytemnestra and Orestes as he is about to kill her. She attempts to persuade him not to do that by emphasizing that she is his mother. He retorts that she is his father's killer. And throughout this passage, one of the important techniques that each character uses is the rhetorical figure of paradiastole, redescription, offering a different description of an act or a person in order to try to persuade the other person of its validity. And throughout this passage, Orestes and Clytemnestra argue over who it is who will be carrying out this killing. First of all, Clytemnestra maintains that when she killed Agamemnon, that was in part the work of destiny, to which Orestes retorts, well, destiny will be responsible for your death as well. And Clytemnestra says, have you no respect for a parent's curse? To which Orestes replies, in effect, you have never really been my parent. You gave birth to me and then you threw me out into exile. And then when Clytemnestra says, you seem to be on the point of killing your mother, that desperate appeal to him to recognize her as his mother, not as his father's murderer, Orestes replies, it is not I that will kill you, you will have killed yourself. In other words, her death is a necessary outcome of her killing of Agamemnon. And Orestes says that it's Agamemnon's blood that determines her doom, as he calls it. And he tells her, You killed the one whom you ought not, now suffer what you ought not. The rhetorical balance there being a claim for justice. Aristotle said that recognition and reversal were typically two of the most important elements in a tragic plot, and the Libation Bearers gives us both. It opens with the non-recognition of Orestes by Electra and her gradual realization that he is indeed her own brother. It continues with the non-recognition of Orestes by Clytemnestra, and then the recognition not only of his identity, but the understanding that he has come to fulfill her dream of being killed by the serpent, her recognition that Orestes is bringing death to her. As for reversal, at the end of the play, the bodies of Clytemnestra and Aeschylus are placed on the threshold of the house, exactly where the bodies of Agamemnon and Cassandra were displayed at the end of the previous play. Visually, therefore, that is a demonstration, an enactment of the kind of justice that is brought about through this form of reversal. And then there is also a reversal in the status of Orestes. He is the heir to his father Agamemnon, who has been sent off into exile. He is thought to be dead, according to the false report delivered to the house, but he appears to be alive. From his status in exile, he returns to the house to claim his position as heir. But no sooner has he done that than he leaves in terror into a new form of exile. We have here a whole series of reversals in the status and fortune of Orestes. For at the end of the play, a new form of recognition is forced upon Orestes, as he is pursued by the Furies, eager to avenge the murder of Clytemnestra. Only Orestes can see the Furies, which suggests that they represent in an external form that internal psychological recognition by Orestes of the horror of what it is that he has done. The play ends there, but the trilogy does not, and in the next and final play in the sequence, the Eumenides, we see the way in which Orestes is finally purged of his guilt and the accompanying pollution and restored to his position.